Jiu-Jitsu in 2022, what are your goals? Maybe what are some ways that we should start training in 2022? Also, what are some cool events in Jiu-Jitsu that are coming up this new year? So let's discuss it right now. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do that down below right now. Make sure you also hit the bell icon so you guys never miss the latest video whenever it comes out. I apologize that I've been a little inconsistent with my videos lately. It was a rough end of 2021. So one of my New Year's resolutions was to make sure that this channel stays more consistent for you guys. That way I can keep pumping out advice and help that you guys are looking for and wanting. So my name is Chasen Hill. I'm a Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I've been teaching and training Jiu-Jitsu now for over 10 plus years. And the goal with this channel is to give advice, and whether that's in talks like this or sparring videos or techniques to help out students that are struggling like you guys. I do that on a daily basis. I help students online, also in person at an academy. So if you guys like all things Jiu-Jitsu, this is probably a pretty good channel for you guys to check out. So today we're going to discuss all the new and exciting things that are happening in Jiu-Jitsu in 2022. What are some good goals that we can set, maybe some ways that we can improve our training, and cool events that are happening. Some of you might have just now started training for the first time in 2022, so if that's the case, congratulations. Thank you for making the leap into the Jiu-Jitsu pond. Some of you guys might be the seasoned Jiu-Jitsu player. Everyone's gonna have different goals when it comes to their own training. Either way, it doesn't matter what our goals are, whether I'm a new student or I'm a seasoned student. It's super important that we remember to keep our goals realistic and achievable. This is something that I have to talk to my students usually on a weekly or daily basis, usually after training. It's not that we shouldn't set high expectations, but having realistic goals and achievable goals is what gets us to the end of the journey of that black belt there, so we can keep training forever. Personally, when I decide to pick my goals, I like to decide if this goal is going to help me train forever. And if you start there, it usually picks out the things that are the most important, and that does lead to training certain positions or submissions, because I know if I want to train forever, I need to be able to improve that, so that way I can learn how to escape, or I can learn how to get out, or I can learn how to control somebody who's bigger than me. All of these things can kind of be traced back to, is this gonna help me train forever? We can have little intermediate goals in between there. Personally, I'm a big fan of setting up two types of goals whenever training. We should have what's called a short-term goal, and then we should also have what's called a long-term goal. Short-term goals are usually goals that we can achieve in maybe a few months, maybe even a year to an extent. And you could have multiple ones that build up. And then a long-term goal is what could take more than 4 or 5 years plus. And for a lot of people, that long-term goal is just, I'm maybe 30 years old, I've just started training, and now I want to train forever. That's a great long-term goal, but you're going to have to do some things in between there of structuring your training in order to achieve that long-term goal. Also, setting clear goals and setting clear expectations. Usually what that does is, if students have an idea of how they should be training or how they should be training, they typically see quicker improvement, in my opinion, and they also tend to have a lot more fun, because it's fun to improve. It's fun to think that, man, I was terrible at this position, or I always got caught in this submission. Now I've worked really hard to acquire more information and knowledge and be able to apply it on the mat and be able to escape positions or be able to hold somebody down or hit a submission that I really like. Those really help you in the momentum of continuing to train long-term, reaching that long goal. So really, when students start investing time into that, then they usually tend to grow quicker and they have more fun. What I would recommend is find a seasoned Jiu-Jitsu student around the gym, maybe a purple belt or a brown belt or higher. If you can get with an instructor, that's even better. But ask them if they've been training more than 5 or 6 years. They have valuable information that they can help you guys with. Just pick their brains and have those talks. I feel like that sometimes in Jiu-Jitsu, we kind of get this idea that we can't ask an upper belt a question. Maybe that, I'm lower on the totem pole, so I can't look them in the eye. I can't ask them these questions. I just got to figure it out on my own. Unfortunately, I think that leads a lot of people to quitting Jiu-Jitsu because they don't ask those questions. They're kind of, I don't know if they're either scared or the tone of the gym has been set that way. But in my experience, most Jiu-Jitsu people are happy to talk to you about their experience and to give advice. So find a seasoned Jiu-Jitsu person who you can pick their brain about ways that they've been able to train for 5 years. And it just might be even a conversation like we're having here. It just might be simple advice on how to think or how to structure your training plan. It may not even be a technique. Acquire the knowledge by communicating and talking with people, doing research like you're doing right now, maybe reaching out online and seeing what good information's out there. There's a lot of great jiu-jitsu channels and content out there. So make sure you guys try to figure out. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my video above right here about how to train a jiu-jitsu hierarchy. A lot of people don't know that there's actually a hierarchy in jiu-jitsu, and I give maybe some advice on which techniques you should pick by using the jiu-jitsu hierarchy as a basis. If you're finding this information helpful and useful, make sure you leave a comment down below. Leave me a comment about what you're excited for in 2022 with jiu-jitsu. Are you excited for certain events? Are you excited for a tournament you're getting ready for? Are you just a new student and you're super pumped? Leave a comment down below on what you're excited for this new jiu-jitsu year. Now for some of the big events that are happening this new year in jiu-jitsu. So of course we have the biggest event, which is ADCC. It's happening this year. It's happening in September. ADCC, for some of you guys that are a little bit newer, it's kind of the Olympics of grappling. It's the closest thing that we have to it. Jiu-jitsu is not in the Olympics. You know, we do have wrestling and judo that are forms of grappling arts, but we don't have just pure Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the Olympics. So this is the closest that we have to it. It only happens usually, I think, about every 2 years. So a lot of times in other tournaments, we don't really get to see the best guys are matched up with each other because they have to voluntarily enter, and depending on how the bracket is worked, we don't always get to see them. But these are the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world. All of the brackets are usually always stacked. Everyone in there is fantastic and amazing. Great accomplishment to even compete in the tournament, let alone if you win a match or, you know, win it. It's fantastic. I've had a lot of people ask if it's worth watching jiu-jitsu tournaments and if it's worth it if I'm a newer student, or if I'm not really into competitions, why would I watch jiu-jitsu tournaments? And this is a great kind of conversation piece. I highly recommend all of my students check out at least ADCC. You know, it only happens every 2 years, and what you get out of it is you get to see what the best in the world are practicing and training and what's working. It is amazing at being efficient, whether it's being efficient in a street fight or being efficient in grappling another skilled opponent. It's all about the art of efficiency. Over time, that efficiency is going to change and evolve. So if you're seeing a guy in ADCC and whatever they're doing is working on the other best guy in the world, you best be straight that that technique or that strategy or their ideas of whatever they're implying is extremely efficient and valuable. I still love to watch the competitions because there's new concepts and ideas and techniques that are being used that, like I said, are by the best guys in the world that I want to pass on to my students and knowledge. It would be almost irresponsible of me to not be caught up on all the newest information, because when a student comes to me and asks about this stuff, if I just tell them, oh, that's crap and I don't know anything about it, then that's me kind of being lazy at my job. I should have somewhat of an idea of kind of what they're talking about. I don't necessarily have to be an expert in it, but I need to keep up with trends. That's part of anyone's job or profession, is to keep up with those trends. And yeah, some of it, you know, if you're a self-defense person, some of the stuff is not great for self-defense. But there's still ideas and concepts that can be used out of it. I mean, we're seeing this right now in MMA, that leg locks are becoming much bigger in MMA, and that's because it started in the jiu-jitsu scene. So now guys have evolved it and adapted it to not be punched in the face as much, not take as much damage, and be able to use leg locks. Before, you know, 6-7 years ago, that was much harder to do. I also think it keeps the jiu-jitsu students involved in the culture. Learning about the jiu-jitsu culture is just as important as training. The more time that you can invest in jiu-jitsu, whether that's watching tournaments or participating in tournaments or watching techniques online, the more that you think about jiu-jitsu and the more that you see jiu-jitsu, the better you're gonna get, no matter what. Even if I'm hurt or I'm injured, watching jiu-jitsu definitely has an impact on my game whenever I return, because maybe I have a new idea, I have a new outlook on something. Definitely if you're a newer student, you may not take as much as from an upper belt or a student that's been training for a long time, but that's okay. It's a nice introduction. You know, now the great thing with YouTube and online stuff is those videos are gonna be there for a long time. You can always go back and rewatch them. I personally go back and rewatch old matches all the time. For number one, because I'm a nerd and I love to do that. And there's great hidden concepts in there that maybe you've never been exposed to, or you have a new outlook on the match. Definitely make sure you're on the lookout for these events in 2022, especially ADCC. I highly recommend everyone check it out. Like I said, I think it's happening in September. So I appreciate you guys checking this video out, and I'm actually gonna ask for your help right now. I'm currently working on a project to help Jiu-Jitsu students train long-term and forever easier. A lot of times Jiu-Jitsu students are relied on going to an academy to train, and not that that's not good, but sometimes other opinions are needed. Maybe they want advice from other Jiu-Jitsu instructors that maybe it sits differently with them. So I'm working on a long-term project on ways I can help students train longer, and that means if you're a current student that's been training for a long time, I would love to speak with you and get your information about on some things that maybe you struggled with and what you did to overcome them. I would also like to speak with students who are currently newer in their journey, and you're gonna definitely face struggles. Your struggles are gonna be different than what an upper belt is. At some point, usually everyone experiences kind of very similar struggles. Help you guys train longer with advice or techniques or whatever. So if you're open to speaking with me, down below is my email. Please shoot me an email and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you guys for finishing this video. Make sure if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you're a returning subscriber, I greatly appreciate you guys sticking with me. The channel's almost at 900 subscribers, so everyone that's subscribed and supported, thank you again, I greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure you stick around, check out these next videos that are coming up right here, and until then, I'll see you guys next time.